So our next speaker is Enrico Nardone. He is the director of the Seatuck Environmental Association. He is going, that ties in greatly with what we just heard. He's going to talk about the fish passage campaign. Enrico? Down is forward and up is backwards.
Got it. Good morning. Happy spring. It's great to see everybody. This is one of my favorite days of the year. And Mike always likes to say it's like the annual reunion of the conservation community here on Long Island. And yeah, I always feel that way. And it's especially sweet this year because there was a moment there where, well, I don't know if it was a panic, but there was a moment when we learned that we weren't able to have the conference at Brookhaven, that it might not happen. And I know we've already thanked our team. I'm not going to name everybody, but it was sort of an all hands on deck moment, and everybody pulled together to make this happen. And it's great to be here and to see you all. Thanks. And thanks for all of you for your patience and making it happen. So yeah, I have a chance to talk about the situation at the Nissequogue River and bring you up to date on what happened there. Some background: this is the Nissequogue flowing north from the middle of the island in Hauppauge and Smithtown, past lots of great public properties, and it starts up here in the Caleb Smith State Park and Blydenburgh County Park. And it's a really unique river. I was just going to highlight this a little bit. It's one of our really special rivers, one of the big four. No offense to the Carls River and the Mill River, but these are our big four on Long Island. And it's a curious thing. If you look at all the rivers on Long Island, if they were all mapped here in this blue color, they would all mostly look like the Connecticut and the Carmen, sort of straight lines. There's very few rivers that have this other shape with kind of real tributaries at the tops of them. These two that do, the Peconic and the Nissequogue, are really unique. I'm just going to, not a geologist, and I'm going to try to explain this pretty quickly. But the other first thing about the Nissequogue that makes it unique, it is the largest river on Long Island by volume of discharge. So the water it delivers to the Long Island Sound is greater than any other river, even though it's not the longest or doesn't have the largest watershed. We can all ask Chris about this later, because this is a sort of a curiosity that is not, I can't explain it, but it's one of the things that makes the Nissequogue unique. So back to this picture, those weird tributaries and the position, that the reason the Nissequogue is not a straight river like the rest of them. This is a slide from our colleague and friend Brett Bennington at Hofstra, showing the moraines. You're all probably familiar with this. Most of our rivers and streams flow off of the moraine in the direction either on the North Shore from the short runs from the North Shore south or north end of the Sound, and on the South Shore longer runs from the moraines across the outwash plain into the South Shore bays. Chris said an interesting thing earlier, which is that our rivers and streams are manifestations of the groundwater in places where the surface of the land has been incised into the water table. That incision work didn't happen by the rivers and streams themselves. Those incisions were caused during the glacial era when water was running off of the glaciers. And so our rivers and streams basically exist in the channels that were carved 10,000, 20,000 years ago by meltwater from the glaciers. The Peconic is unique because it exists between two moraines. It's not flowing one direction off of a moraine. It exists between the Roanoke Point moraine to the north and the Ronkonkoma moraine to the south. It acts in a sense like a more of a natural river would. It's not flowing in a pre-existing channel. The Nissequogue exists in this sort of triangle between this sort of weird point where these moraines overlap. And this is sort of an idea of what is happening, is that you have a receding glacier that they form moraines as they move forward and stop and go back and forward. And then the meltwater sometimes carves through those moraines. Some cases it piles up water and into these huge lakes. And then the lakes break through and they form these gaps in the moraines. Most Long Island streams don't flow through the moraines. They're on one side of them or the other. The Nissequogue, as this digital image shows, I can make this pointer work. The Nissequogue, oh, I actually have an arrow here. Yeah. The Nissequogue flows through a moraine. It's one of the few rivers that do this. And it starts up here in this sort of unique place that, again, I can't really explain, but I think I'm told has to do with tunnel channels where water was really gorging out from under the glacier, which formed this unique sort of little plateau there. So the Nissequogue is following a channel, but it's going through a moraine, which is why it's one of the really unique rivers on Long Island. Back to our two state parks, these yellow lines are some of the dams that are existing in the system. The one I'm going to talk about, though, is the big one in between Caleb Smith and Blydenburgh that forms, or formerly forms, Stump Pond. This is the Blydenburgh Lake, or sometimes called the New Mill Pond. In August last year, this huge rain event, which if you can see this, you can tell this is the rainfall in inches over here. So the white dots are, over 10 inches of rain. And you can see the arrow is pointing at sort of the Nissequogue River. That's what happened. And it caused this in further east, or very close to us here. This is the Mill Pond Dam in Stony Brook. And it caused this. This is the failure of the Stump Pond Dam in Blydenburgh County Park. So this is on the morning of the 19th. You can see the water drain very quickly. It's a very shallow pond, and the water was gone pretty fast. So this is the 19th, the day. Actually, I think the breach actually happened that night before. This is the next day, the 20th. So the water already mostly gone. You're already seeing the river's original channels there. Another day later. All this, George mentioned, this is all those plants that George mentioned growing in the sediment. This is milfoil, all pulled in the direction of the dam as the water was draining out. Hydrilla. This is you find people referencing their trips paddling on the river, on the lake, as weeds shore to shore. This is the weeds. Lots of mud. Lots of pictures of the mud and the muddy mess and what a shame it was. You probably saw this on the news. The dog got stuck in the mud. The dog owner went to find the dog, got stuck in the mud, and the police had to rescue the dog owner. Dogs are not supposed to be off leash, so you can blame the dog owner for this. You cannot blame this. Not with that face. Oh, this is last week. Still lots of water on the lower section. This is standing at the dam looking upstream. It's still, it's holding some water there. It's still sort of drying out. But on the next picture, this is further upstream where the two channels of the river meet. You can see how much drier it is already. The river has found its former channel, and looks like it would have, minus the forest, 200-300 years ago. This is just right at the river where the water is flowing. And you can see the river is scouring through the mud. It's moving the mud downstream, as George explained. That's what rivers do, and it's reached down to its, this is that sort of glacial till that sort of should be at the bottom of the river. So this is where we are. The county executive has said that he's intending to rebuild the dam. He has support from the Suffolk County legislature, most importantly from legislator Leslie Kennedy, whose district the river flows, the park is in. And they've already allocated some money, $6.6 million. They announced a bid in November to hire an engineering firm to design the potential rebuild. That was awarded to Lewis McLean and Associates in late January. They have 2 months to develop the scope of work, which is right around now. Then they'll have 2 months to develop a preliminary design and another 3 months for final design. At which point, I think, Heidi, correct me, but I think that's when DEC gets involved and there's a final design or preliminary, perhaps. At some point, DEC has been talking to the county about it, but there's no permit in front of them yet. So when that happens, they'll be much more engaged, I assume. This is not a picture of the dam, but at what cost is this going to, what cost is it going to take? I don't know where this dam is, but this is my sense of what it's going to look like. It's going to be a lot of heavy equipment, a lot of concrete, and it's going to be an expensive job. And just to remember that when we talk about the dam being repaired, it's not just that spot where the breach happened. It's this full earthen dam extends. What's the number, George? 540 feet from one side to the other, and potentially, depending on where DEC and the dam safety team lands on this, a lot of that is going to need to be reinforced to ensure other parts of the earthen dam don't fail. So the county has already moved $6.6 million into the capital fund to make available to using it. In some of the quotes that have come from the county executive's office and DPW, they've already talked about a $9 million number. And I've had lots of conversations with engineers that have said this could easily be $15 or $20 million, depending on DEC's requirements. So ongoing costs of maintaining that dam, for the lifetime of the dam, it's going to need to be, especially if it's going to be raised to an intermediate hazard dam, lots of ongoing work. And then dealing with the plants, as George explained, sediment's going to pile back up. All that hydrilla is going to start growing again. It's going to make it hard to paddle, hard to use that pond. These are expensive things to deal with. DEC every year organizes a hand pool at the mill pond in Wantagh to remove water chestnut. This is Smith Pond in Rockville Center on the Mill River. This is a pond that they looked at when they had a big millions of dollars from the state to look at dredging this pond to get rid of this plant. They decided it was too expensive to deal with. So these are expensive problems. The county's not going to be able to avoid them without lots of expenditure. And at what benefit? Of course, the biggest call for rebuilding of this dam is coming from the warm water fishing crowd, the bass masters, people that don't want to go out here and catch the non-native species that George mentioned. Our argument is that you still have fishing. You can still go out there and wade, maybe not fish from a boat, but you can wade a flowing stream, and not for non-native invasive bass, but for New York's state fish, our only native trout, the brook trout, which exists in this river upstream of the dam and downstream of the dam, and wants to reclaim this riverine habitat. There's been complaints about not being the hiking, the famous Stump Pond loop, 6-mile loop around the lake, and the Greenbelt Trail cross this dam. You don't need to rebuild the dam to connect the trail. We could put a bridge across there, reconnect the loop. And we've made the argument that there's potential now for more hiking opportunities, potentially building low-cost, small pedestrian footbridges across the channels of the stream to expand the opportunities. You don't have to just do 6 miles. You could do a 1-mile loop or a figure-8 hike around the park. This is some ideas of putting some platforms and boardwalks across there, as I said. And you see, this is green now. There's the muddy mess, as George pointed out, is not going to last for long. The growing season is here. In a matter of months, It's going to look like a beautiful riparian meadow. And we know this because this has happened all across the Northeast, but it's also happened here in Long Island. This is Westbrook down along the Connecticut State Park. This picture is in June after the dam failed. It's about two weeks after the dam failure. This is September. Dried up and plants growing, full of native species and some rare native species right away. So this is what it looks like now. Some of the largest stands of cattail, full of beautiful native plants in the fall, full of pollinators and birds. One of the really spectacular sites on Long Island. Blydenburgh will look like this in the fall. So with that, our options is spend $10 million plus rebuilding the dam, taking on a lifetime of dam maintenance for a less healthy, less resilient river that forms great habitat for non-native species, or spend a fraction of that not rebuilding the dam, build some boardwalks, some platforms, some maintenance, maybe with some invasives and picking up garbage, but nothing like dam maintenance. And will leave us a healthier, more resilient river and floodplain with habitat for native wildlife. So with that, I urge all of us to support an effort to let the Nissequogue River run free. And I urge you to visit our website where we've laid out this argument in lots of detail, and we'll be providing additional resources for you to write to the county executive, write to your legislators, write to our friends at the DEC, and make sure that they know it's not just the Bassmasters that want this dam repaired. There's lots of us that want to see this river run. Thank you.